The summer heat in Austin, Texas had always felt oppressive, a thick, smothering blanket. This year, though, the air conditioning in their elegant, modern home on Lake Travis could barely cut through the chill that had settled between Ethan and his wife, Clara. They had been together for 12 years, married for 8, and the foundation of their life, a successful architecture firm, 2 healthy children, and a meticulously curated social circle, felt less like bedrock and more like thin ice. Ethan was a man of patterns, a trait that made him a brilliant structural engineer but a predictable husband. He noticed the subtle shift in Clara's routine, the late-night yoga sessions at a new downtown studio, the sudden interest in her company's regional sales conferences, and the way her phone never left her side, always face down. The most damning evidence, however, was not in the data, but in the silence. Clara, a woman whose energy used to fill a room, now kept her conversational exchanges clipped, professional, and entirely devoid of the warmth that had first captivated him. The confirmation came on a rainy Tuesday. Ethan had returned from a site visit early, his boots still muddy from the new hospital wing foundation. He found an unfamiliar laptop charger plugged into the outlet behind the master bedroom nightstand. It was a small detail, the kind of anomaly his engineer's brain couldn't ignore. He tracked the serial number, a discreet inquiry through a distant colleague in tech, which led him to an employee named Marcus, a newly hired, aggressively ambitious product manager at Clara's firm. The realization didn't come with a bang of rage, but with a cold, terrifying stillness. The ice hadn't just cracked. It had shattered beneath his feet. Ethan's nature was not one for yelling or confrontation. His approach to crisis, whether in steel and concrete or in marriage, was to analyze, calculate, and implement a solution with surgical precision. Over the next 3 weeks, he played the role of the devoted, oblivious husband flawlessly. He offered to watch the children so Clara could attend her conferences. He left her little notes and made her favorite coffee in the mornings. Watching her reaction, a fleeting look of guilt immediately masked by a brittle smile. His revenge wouldn't be dramatic or public, not yet. It would be an intricate structural failure, designed to collapse their shared life from within, leaving her standing alone on the rubble of her own making. The plan centered on the one thing Clara valued above everything else, her professional image and the equity in their joint firm. Ethan was the architect, the creative force, but Clara managed the money and the client relationships. He knew she had been maneuvering for years to gain a larger share of the firm's voting stock. Ethan began by quietly shifting the structure of their professional accounts. As a founding partner, he had access she did not. He didn't steal or embezzle. He simply corrected the discrepancies. For months, Clara had been directing a small percentage of profits from their more lucrative projects into a private investment vehicle, using a complex accounting structure he himself had designed years ago to minimize tax liability, now repurposed for infidelity. It was all legal, yet ethically murky, designed to be discovered only by someone who understood the core logic of the firm's finances intimately. He created a phantom project, a fabricated, high-profile contract for a boutique hotel in Dallas. Using his architectural software and the firm's official letterhead, he drafted preliminary blueprints and sent fabricated high-level correspondence, making it seem real to their system. He knew Clara would see the influx of capital and, blinded by her focus on Marcus and her desire to look good for her partner, she would try to siphon a larger-than-usual percentage into her personal slush fund, mistaking the phantom cash for legitimate profit. The trap was set. On a Tuesday in early October, the morning after Clara claimed to have been in Dallas closing the deal, Ethan sent a single anonymized email to the firm's head counsel, a man named George who was known for his rigid, by-the-book morality. The email contained one attachment, a meticulously detailed internal audit of the last 6 months, highlighting the irregular profit diversion pattern, culminating with the large sum Clara had just pulled from the Phantom Dallas project. Ethan didn't mention her name. He simply highlighted the numbers and the inherent conflict of interest. The meeting the next day was devastatingly quiet. Ethan sat beside Clara in George's office, wearing the same impassive expression he'd worn for weeks. George laid out the audit, his face tight with disappointment. Clara was paralyzed, not by guilt over the cheating, but by the sheer public exposure of her professional transgression. She tried to deny it, but Ethan calmly explained the accounting logic, revealing the complex, multi-step process she had relied on. He presented it not as an accusation, but as an objective structural failure in the firm's financial oversight, a failure she, as the financial partner, was responsible for. "I don't know how this could have happened." "Ethan," she finally stammered, her voice shaking. Ethan simply turned to her, his gaze finally direct, and said, with the clinical detachment of a man analyzing a weak-bearing wall, "The structure was compromised, Clara. When the foundation is weak, the whole building collapses." He signed the papers that George had prepared, reassigning the majority of the firm's voting shares to an independent trust under his control, effectively making Clara a minority partner with no operational authority. "This wasn't a punishment for the affair," he explained to George, "but a necessary step to protect the firm's integrity during the coming internal review of her financial handling." The next day, she came home to an empty house. Ethan had taken the children to his sister's place in California. A divorce petition was waiting on the kitchen counter. It was a no-fault filing, but it stipulated the financial arrangements he had just established. He had also forwarded her a single text message, a screenshot of the last incriminating exchange between her and Marcus, sent from his phone to hers, just moments after George's meeting. The message from Marcus read, "Hey, are you okay? That meeting sounded rough. I know you're the smartest person in that room, baby." It was a final, cold confirmation that he had known everything all along. The revenge was complete, not with a shout or a dramatic scene, but with the quiet, devastating efficiency of a man who knew how to design a perfect collapse. Clara lost her firm, her control, and the elegant, moneyed life she had been risking. The irony was that Marcus, the younger man, saw her no longer as the powerful partner, but as a financial liability, and quickly detached. Ethan, sitting on his patio overlooking the still waters of Lake Travis, the oppressive heat finally giving way to a cool evening breeze, didn't feel triumph. He felt the quiet, cold satisfaction of having corrected an unforgivable error. His marriage, like a flawed blueprint, had been rejected, and the site cleared for a more solid, trustworthy structure. The ultimate lesson, he understood, was that the strongest architects design not just buildings, but also their exits, making sure that when the foundation gives way, they are the only ones left standing.